Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about AutoCAD, give an overview of what AutoCAD is and the program itself. So here I'm going to talk a little bit about AutoCAD, and this is off of their website. So AutoCAD is produced by Autodesk, and they produce a bunch of different professional applications. And the one that we use is AutoCAD. As you can see here, at $1,521 a year, it's not a cheap program. They are now a subscription service. When you used to pay as a lump sum permanent use, this fee was actually much higher. But now they've lowered it because now you're on a subscription. And so what is AutoCAD? AutoCAD is a computer-aided design software. To give you some history, is AutoCAD used to be really big on the Mac back in the day when Mac was the premier graphics design computer platform. And then, as we know, looking back in history, that the Mac kind of fell. And at one point, Autodesk stopped developing AutoCAD for Mac, and it went primarily fully Windows. And it was only once the Mac came back and went to Intel chips did Autodesk start redeveloping AutoCAD for Mac. And so it's similar to the Windows version AutoCAD, but it is not the full identical version. It has a different layout, and it can't do actually all the things that the Windows versions does. One thing that I will bring up too that's interesting is that for those of you that use Mac, I don't know if you're aware, but Apple just recently said that they're switching their whole computer lineup from Intel-based Mac products to their own Mac chip that's based off of the chips in the iPhones and iPads. And due to that, all the computer programs have to be rewritten. So it will be interesting to see if Autodesk rewrites the program for AutoCAD or scraps it and just has users have to use the Windows version. So in the probably next couple of years, it will be interesting to see what Autodesk decides. Most offices use the Windows version, so that's where I would recommend if you're planning on working at a firm somewhere. There are some firms that use Macs, but overall, typically nowadays, the vast industry standard is AutoCAD and the Windows version. There are other CAD software out there, but it's not as large as market share as AutoCAD is. Now, also too, is there are mobile and web apps that Autodesk has developed. This has come up before. Like, you could download this on your iPad Pro, but this is not the full version of AutoCAD. Really, what these were developed for is for the user to do the main design at their personal computer at the office, and then historically, what that person would do is they would go out on site, and then they would, if they were working on a building or working in the landscape, then they would have to write it up in notes, come back to the office, and then make those CAD changes. Where now the mobile apps are to allow you to really they're there to view, edit, and annotate your existing drawing. It's really not there so much as to create a full drawing from scratch. I guess you could do it, but I think the accuracy and how fast you could do it is limited compared to the traditional PC setup with a mouse and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a huge program, and it's kind of like, if you guys are aware with Photoshop, is there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing in Photoshop. Same thing in AutoCAD. There's a ton of different ways to do the same item, and it's also very similar in Photoshop. Is there's layers and such in it. Also, it kind of reminds me a lot of Google Earth. If you guys have used Google Earth, I'll kind of dive in a little with that. But AutoCAD is a coordinate-based system, and so we'll dive more into that. So this is the full version. Now let's say we go to AutoCAD LT, so it's their light version. You can see that the price significantly drops. It's $336 a year. It's very similar to the full version of AutoCAD. It just, some of the advanced tools aren't available. And the problem is, some of those advanced tools really save you a lot of time. So in a professional setting, is you could have the cheaper subscription, but you're going to spend so much more time. For example, in irrigation, as I'm an irrigation consultant, is there's these programs called Lisps, and those Lisps really speed up our tasks. And so with that, the money that we'd save on going with LT is negated by how much time we're going to waste in that program. So we're a lot more productive in the full version. And so that's why a lot of offices use the full version. But if you're just starting out, then definitely going with the LT is an option. And because it's subscription based, you can upgrade at any time. I did want to show you guys here too. I think it's down here. So they do have, one of the nice things that AutoCAD has is that with it being subscription, you could do it monthly, yearly, or 3 years. And so let's say you're just starting out and your educational version has expired and you have a project and you need to work on it, and you're getting a project maybe once every couple months, is you could pay for 1 month the $55, complete the project, and then not renew until your next project came up. So for rare projects, this is a good option. Now, if you're doing projects consistently, you can see buying the whole year is going to drop you down. Instead of $55 a month, it drops you down to $28 a month. And then 3 years drops you down to $26 a month. But really, they want you in for a year. Now, with this, is with being subscription based, they do offer updates, yearly updates. Now, kind of like most PC software, they don't do huge changes. Most AutoCAD really hasn't drastically changed in appearance for many years. The last one was when they added the ribbon, which we'll go over, and so most of them, there's time-saving new features that are added. But since this actually serves so many different industries, from mechanical to landscape to architecture, a lot of times some of these new features don't even benefit your industry. And then we're going to move into the files that AutoCAD uses. So the primary file is the .dwg. Here you can see the .dwg file. So I've named it Polyline as the file, and it's .dwg. So it was a preparatory data file. And it was, I think it was 1982 is when it was licensed to Autodesk. It was developed in the 1970s. So you can see there's been many versions of the file format. So it's like a JPEG is for photos, an AutoCAD file is the .dwg. A lot of these CAD programs are all DWG, so you can actually open, a MicroStation DWG file in AutoCAD and vice versa. And so there's cross compatibility. Not all things carry across, but for the most part, they've tried to make it easy to use. In the early 2000s, you could see, so if you had AutoCAD 2000, 2000i, or 2002, it uses all the same file. But as soon as your client went to 2004, if you had an older version of AutoCAD, it couldn't open the new file. So this was their way to get your firm to have to upgrade AutoCAD and spend more money, because they would, every 3 years, you'd have to get the latest version of AutoCAD to open files that your client sent you. This wasn't a problem if you were a small shop and it was just you and people weren't sending you files. But if you work on a big team, and any client that then sent you files, like you being maybe landscape architect, if the architect or civil engineer or whoever, all those files coming to you, if they were in a newer file format, then and you had the old version, it would not open, and so you'd either have to ask them to downgrade the file format, or you would have to upgrade your AutoCAD. So more recently, they've switched to 5 years. So the most recent was 2008 was when they then switched, and now we're in 2021, and it looks like more than likely that file format will stay until 2022. And then, so over here, when you have your file, the DWG, anytime you save a file in the drawing, it makes a backup file. So this is a BAK file, and that BAK file is a one save behind your DWG. And then what it is it's basically, if anything goes wrong in this file, you can resort to this file and you didn't lose all your work. And how you get around this is, I'm going to call this old. Let's say I want to go to here and turn this into a file that's usable, because I can't open the .bak file, is I turn it into a DWG file. Do I want to change the file extension? I say yes, and now it turns into a .dwg file. Now you could open it and work on it. And it wouldn't be right where you left off. It would be somewhat behind from where you last saved it. But you didn't then lose all your work. Oftentimes that can happen in AutoCAD. Something goes wrong, and if you spend a couple hours, that's a couple hours worth of work that you have to redo. So it's always great to have the backup files. So I'm going to change this back to the BAK. And change this back. Okay. So in the next video, we are going to jump into the actual program.